then we will come to lie on our sides. So you can do whatever side you want first. I'm just going to move the blanket out of the way. And I love to have the support of a cushion or a bolster here to lean into. And I'm going to have my TheraBand handy in case I need it in a moment. So we're going to come to lie on our side. And what we're looking for here roughly is for our shoulders, hips and ankles to be in one line along the length of the mat. And then the knees bent at kind of roughly 90 degrees. And I'm going to place my hand on top of my pelvis. So once again, I'm doing this so that we can isolate the movement at the hip joint. And then keeping my feet together, I'm going to slowly open my knees. And this is working the external rotators of the hip joint, but also the abductors of the hip joint. So it's working gluteus maximus, it's working the 6 deep external rotators, and then it's also working gluteus medius, minimus, and the tensor fascia lata. So if this feels like enough, you can keep repeating this movement. And if you want to make it that little bit more challenging, what you can do is wrap your TheraBand along the midsection of your thigh and kind of have it in a loose kind of knot here at the front, and come back to lie on your side. And then this time we're going to open, but we have the resistance of the TheraBand to work against. And you can, either keep a hold of the top of the pelvis, or you can challenge yourself and see, can I release the pelvis but only move from the hip joint? So you're kind of a double whammy here. You're working at all the muscles around the pelvis to stabilize it, and you're also working at those amazing muscles that we spoke about a second ago in the hip joint. Okay, so we've had enough of that, you'll know about it. We're going to stretch those muscles out in a second, so bear with me, but we'll now move to the other side. So I'll just flip around so you can see. And once again, we'll lie, so roughly shoulders, hips, ankles in one line, knees are bent. I've got my nice support here for my head. I'll start with the hand on the pelvis and slowly open the knees wide. And start to really draw your attention into those muscles. So can you visualize the gluteus maximus? Can you feel it contract? Can you start to visualize the gluteus minimus and medius at the side of the pelvis? Can you visualize the tensor fascia lata running along the lateral seam of the leg? And can you visualize those amazing super deep 6 external rotators of the hip buried in amongst the pelvis? And then once again, if you want to add a little bit of intensity, we have a TheraBand. So we will loop that around. And this time I'm going to release the pelvis, so I'm going to do my best to keep the pelvis in one position, and I'm going to simply move from the hip joint. And it's amazing how much more challenging it feels with the TheraBand. I can really feel those muscles working hard. Nice, okay. So time to give the hips just a little stretch for a moment, because they can kind of end up feeling a bit overworked. So we'll do a classic supine pigeon position. So I'm going to take my left outer ankle on top of my right thigh, but I'm going to start by actually lifting the leg but not holding on to the legs. So I'm going to keep them in a position of mobility. I can still feel a nice stretch here, and then after a moment I'm going to take hold of the back of my thigh. And if this is challenging, you can use either your strap or your TheraBand and wrap that behind your thigh to pull it towards you. You know, if you feel like you're lifting your head and your shoulders to try to reach. And again, keep this foot active here. So this is not to protect the knee, we're not using that language, but if I push away through the base of the big toe, it limits the amount of movement happening at the ankle and the knee, and I get a deeper stretch at the hip joint. If you let the ankle go completely and relax, you'll notice that you feel less in the hip joint. Okay, and I'll take that to the other side. Active ankle, so press away through the base of the big toe. I'm going to start in a position of mobility. I still feel the stretch on my right hip, and then I will lace my hands here. And notice that I am not moving my pelvis, so instead of letting the pelvis lift, I'm keeping the sit bones drawing towards the floor, and I'm isolating the movement here on both sides, just at the hip joint. Nice. Take another moment here and release that down.